We are celebrating 11 years of UUOP.
This episode, we rank the 8 lands of Universal Studios Florida
with our special guest, Ali Beemer.
This is episode 501 of the Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this. Does 11 years have a name? Is it like an 11 centennial? You can all speak this time because you've all kind of spoken already.
11.
Oh, so we're here? Oh.
Yeah, I'm still going to introduce you, but 11sies. I'll take that.
11sies?
11 years of doing this goddamn thing. I am here, as always. I think I've only missed one show in 11 years at this point, which is kind of crazy.
Well, the traditional British anniversary present is steel.
Oh,
So that's
cool. If anyone wants to get us some steel.
It's strong bonds.
Okay. That voice you hear there is the woman that's been with me here right from the start. That is Tracy.
And a bit longer.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, true.
Yep. Hello, everyone.
And of course, that other voice you heard there is the one that's been with us the longest next, and that was Chris.
Hey.
We're all with the intros tonight.
Oh, yeah.
And the shortest member. There's one who's been with us the shortest. I mean, she may well be the shortest, to be fair. I don't know.
I mean,
That is
I don't
Michelle.
think I'm the shortest, but I may be the newest.
You're definitely the newest.
Okay.
And as you heard in the intro, someone I've been trying to get on for a long time. She has been on in an official capacity. Now we finally have her on as a guest, and that is our former Universal Orlando PR contact, Mrs. Ali Beemer. Ali, welcome to the show finally.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
She's currently coming live from New Orleans Airport. Because travel.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
The land of Mardi Gras.
Ooh.
Right, so like we did back on, I think it was 476, if anyone wants to correct me,
I remember
please
that like it was
don't.
yesterday.
We ranked the 8 lands of Islands of Adventure. So I have asked everyone here, Michelle, Tracy, Chris, and Ali, to send me their rankings. I have collated that information together to have an official UUOP plus Ali list of the 8 lands of Universal Studios Florida in order from least favourite, worst to best. And I have comments. Ali and I have spoken off air already. I'm disappointed in a couple of.
I know you're mad at one of mine for sure.
Possibly. I haven't looked at it too much at this point. So I'm going to go through from 8 to 1, and then obviously the people that had it in. This is where it gets confusing. So not to give away where people have it on, but whatever's number 8, whoever had it at number 8 can talk about it specifically of why they had it at number 8. The rest can comment, but obviously not to give away where it is on the list.
Okay.
That being said, we will start off, and the first land we come to, which is at number 8, and that is no surprise to anyone, although Michelle, I'm very surprised where you had it on the list. That is Kid Zone.
Really? You're surprised?
Well, put it this way.
Well, she has a kid, Lee.
So do I. I've got 2 of them.
They're not that.
They were when we first went.
Yeah, but she actually cares
Once.
for them and takes them to have fun, not just herself. So.
She actually
This
cares
is
for them.
true.
Oh, that's so jacked up.
So,
We all know why the Kids Zone is
Oh,
fun,
yes, we do.
because of the ball
Oh,
pit.
anyway,
yes.
so
That is fun. Yes.
myself, Tracy, and Chris all had it at number 8. And I'm genuinely surprised not everyone had it at number 8.
Nah.
Right.
Go.
I mean, I think attractions play a big part in that for me.
Yeah.
It's just
That's-
such a weird
For
mishmash
me,
of things.
there's nowhere to eat. There's no rides that I'm going to do.
Oh, you'll get dragged on ET, but
We're ignoring ET. We always ignore ET. If I can make you forget about it, we do. Although I do like SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yes.
I love it in there.
Yeah.
But my actual note just says ... That's
I mean, it's not a bad spot. Like, I've gone in there with friends before and literally explored, that ball pit area and just kind of messed around in there.
I mean,
But
this is getting terrible. This is really, I'm having to
I have no
bite my
kids,
tongue.
so
No,
I
I know,
don't
but
have a real
that
reason
makes
to
it
go over
even worse that you went in there with your friend and rummaged around in his ball pit.
It was just me and a bunch of creepy old dudes. So, you know.
Wow.
Listen, let me tell you why it doesn't deserve to be number 8. Okay, we got ET, which I love. That
agree.
is like a must do for every single time I go to Universal Studios. It's one of my top rides. It's nostalgic. It better never go away, and I love it. So there's that. Next door, keep on moving around, and we have the Woody Woodpecker coaster, which surprisingly, I actually like it. And that's probably because for a long time, that was the only coaster that Chrissa would do.
No, hang on. I need to interrupt there. That is not true because Tracy and I looked at each other at that point and went, you mean it was the only roller coaster that you would ride as well?
No, not true. I ride everything but Red Rocket. but literally, like, I started taking Chrissa by myself when she was 4 years old. So for probably 4 years, that's the only thrill that I could get when I was in the park by myself. So I like that one. And then I literally love the Curious George ball area. Like it is really, really, I mean, that sounded terrible. What else do you call that place?
The Curious George Goes to Town area.
No, because it's like a whole outdoor water park area.
But
I don't want to get wet. I avoid all of the. This is just getting worse and worse.
It really is, isn't it?
I just have really good memories of Kid Zone. Like, I have really good memories when I was a kid. I have really good memories taking my niece and nephews there. And also, my husband, just for context, gets motion sickness. So he can't really ride a lot of the big rides at Universal Studios Florida. So ET is our big ride when we go to the park together. So it's very special. He was actually, fun fact, he was actually going to propose to me in the ET queue.
Oh my God, that'd be so cool.
On the speaking
it's that
spell.
special to us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I got him a ET candle that smells like the queue for Christmas. Like, we just love that ride. So I could never rank that area for ET alone last.
Just to mention, so I completely did not account for ET in Kid Zone. I have such a disassociation of ET because we ride ET every single time, but we just, beeline it straight to that ride. So I honestly, when I was doing this ranking, didn't even think about that. And had I known, it for sure would have jumped up to my number 7, not number 8, which again would probably you awfully.
I don't care. That's your opinion. It might be wrong, but that's fine.
No, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, ET is that nostalgic ride. It is, the haunted mansion of Universal. It has been there since the dawn of time, and hopefully will be there for a lot longer.
I mean, you can't compare the Haunted Mansion with E.T., to be fair, but...
Well, you know what I mean.
I mean, you can, though, yeah.
You can't, but anyway. I think the
Have you
biggest...
seen the little E.T. swinging? I mean, come on.
Basically, what
I
we're
am not
getting
even
told
commenting
is
on
that Tracy and I are terrible parents. And that
No,
even
you're
though
a
our
terrible
5-year-old,
parent.
when the first time we took I don't even think we've set foot in the Curious George area.
We have.
What, when we went to Halloween? Oh, no,
Yes.
when we went backstage to do the Mardi Gras parade floor.
Yeah, that's it. No, we raised our child correctly toward the bigger thrill rides. That's how I view it.
For me,
Okay.
my biggest issue with it is so dated. And they desperately need to do something with it. I feel, it's weird for me to sit here with Ali listening and not have to watch my P's and Q's.
Well, no, I think again, everybody's entitled to their opinion, right? Like you said, Lee, it may be wrong, but that's totally fine. But they also, I think they have started to update it because they have the DreamWorks destination experience there. Like, that's why, and again, of course they have ET. As soon as I thought of this list, I'm like, that's definitely not the last on my list because of that. But also they are doing and making, enhancements to the area slowly but surely. Yeah. But
I think the big thing there with the upgrades, or not upgrades, but updates, is Fievel, right? Like, I think all the kids going in there, probably even some of the parents of the kids going in there, probably don't even know what Fievel is.
Nope.
Even though I grew up as a child watching Fievel Goes Home, Fievel Goes to the West, all the Fievel movies. That was my little boy right there, So yeah, I think eventually they'll have to do some kind of upgrades there. I don't think that Fievel has a nostalgic aspect of it, but yeah, I agree with you, Ali. Like, going there as a kid, I also loved that area because it was Woody Woodpecker and Fievel, and you'd watch that stuff growing up. So it was definitely, had some kind of impact on you as a child.
Mm-hmm. See, for me,
how are we talking about the last land? Probably more than we will any other.
Because E.T., man.
Don't spoil it. Look, E.T. for me, I will go on it, but I have to be bribed.
No, you go, because as I told you, I've very much come to the mentality now.
I do like it. I just know where I know which scenes I don't like, so I just shut my eyes.
Where I have seen, because of how sporadically we go, like we haven't ridden Shrek since 2009. I'm kind of gutted now that it's been that long since, and you've got to ride the older stuff because it might be the last chance you get to go on it.
I don't really hate it.
No, I know you
It's
don't.
just that, but for me, I mean, we haven't spent a lot of time in Kids Zone. There's no nostalgia there for us.
No.
Something had to be in 8th place. And it was just by default that this was it.
It was always my 8. I think it was probably the one I started off with. My number 1, number 8, they were nice and easy. So moving on to the next land, and just to jump in there, Ali had Kids Zone at number 7. Okay. So she didn't care about it that much.
He just was going to propose to me there. Don't really care.
Well, I'm talking about in terms of I thought long and hard. If you're ranking attractions, E.T. is like my top, but you're talking about the entire land.
Yeah.
That's a little different.
Yeah.
So our number 7 is San Francisco. Now, Michelle had this at number 8. I wonder why. Tracy had it at 7, and I had it at 7, and Chris and Ali didn't have it at 7.
Nope.
Wow.
Okay.
So, I suppose at this point, Michelle, why is it the worst one?
Because there's nothing there.
Literally, you blank that out.
Literally.
I think you might change your mind at Halloween Horror Nights this year, but okay.
Well, we're talking. That's something totally different. We're talking the daytime land. There's nothing there. Fast and Furious is nothing.
You're missing the best ride. What are you talking about?
I literally don't even look at that ride as I walk past it.
But
so no, there's nothing there.
A huge part of the last weekend. Come on, that must play into it at some point.
Isn't that where Chrissa got her pearls from?
What about Beat Builders?
Beat Builders are awesome.
I mean, I dance as I'm walking past them, but I don't ever just stop and stand there and watch. Chrissa does get a pearl there. That's about it. I don't even eat at Richter's Burgers. I don't know. It's literally just an area of the park that I walk through.
Yeah.
Okay, it was ranked a little higher for me. San Francisco was ranked a little higher for me because of one, the Lombard's Landing restaurant. That is a wonderful restaurant that has really great views of the entire park. So that was one of them. Richter's Burger is also a big tradition for my husband and I as well, because during Halloween Horror Nights when Richter's Burger is open, that is where, we get the late night, cheeseburger and fries after walking around the park, for hours, just getting scared, to death. So I think I have really fond memories of it. Again, all of these are personal, right? I have a lot of personal ties and stories to each land, which is why I rank them accordingly. But also you can see there's the Ghirardelli Tower and a lot of really specific details that a lot of people don't either look up or notice, which I appreciate because again, theming and, the attention to detail is really is everything for me. So I feel there's a lot of attention to detail in some of these specific lands like San Francisco that people just don't think of. Yeah,
nostalgia and specific moments in your trips play a huge part, especially in mine very specifically. Of course they do, because everyone has their traditions, don't they? There's one on my list that it's high up because of what's there, but also because of... We'll get there.
Yeah. See, this for us, this is a pass-through, really.
I'll do Fast and Furious every time I go.
By yourself.
No, I'm going to take Raymond on it because he hasn't been on it yet.
Only to make a point. That's
I like it. No, right.
Poor child.
I genuinely like it. The pre-shows are awesome. I don't care what you say about the ride. The pre-shows are awesome.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Don't get my knees battered in on the bus.
No.
Even going back to what you said, Lee, of having that nostalgic, aspect in there. I had this ranked just a little bit higher. But for me, I always remember Earthquake. I always remember the pre-show that they did for that.
Yes.
It was such a cool experience as a kid because you were seeing movies being built, right, or made,
like in front of your eyes.
And that's kind of what that park was.
Yeah,
that's what that park was, and always used to ride it, even though what happens every time. It was such a cool thing to see the truck and the fire and the water and all that stuff. And I know it's not there anymore, but that memory will always be there, even though it was completely crushed, erased, and eradicated by arguably one of the worst rides ever. But aside from that, no, it's not a bad area. I don't spend a whole lot of time in there, but me and Alexa will stop every now and then to see the Beat Builders, and we'll ride Fast and Furious at least once a year. So.
It's kind of the equivalent of the Lost Continent over at Islands. The theming's really good, but there's not really a lot to kind of drag you in there.
It's got
to
a
spend
beautiful
a lot
aesthetic.
Of time. Yeah,
it's lovely to look at, but there's not a lot. That's what I was going to say. San Fran for me, I love looking around and seeing like Fisherman's Wharf and all the little signs and things that people like you say, Ali, it drives you mad. People don't look up, and there's still too many people on phones in parks for me. It's like look around and look at the windows, and you'd be amazed at what you can see.
But isn't there still Amity references in there?
Yeah, I think so.
Another spot that's really cool is the backside of Richter's. There's a bunch of tables back there in the shade, and there's music playing back there. Like a lot of people don't go back there, and it's kind of like a chill spot that you can go to just kind of wind down a little bit,
And plus Jeff Alcatraz and Jaws.
And
yes. Murph is there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I totally remembered.
I think that's the thing with us. Like we've never been into Burger Digs. That's in Jurassic Park. Richter's. We've never done Lombards either.
And both are places that I've wanted to do.
And now you're coming round to fish a little bit.
Well, I always like fish. It's more seafood.
Yeah.
I've had a word of myself and trying new things. But I always get voted out. I get outvoted. That's the way I meant to say it. I get outvoted when it comes to Richter's.
Okay.
Because I'm always told, you can have a burger anywhere.
I mean,
it might be the best burger you ever had.
I mean, again, if you're making your way through the park, during Halloween Horror Nights specifically, it's just such a good middle point to where you've been at the park for several hours. You are so tired, very hungry. Yeah. And then you're like, I just want a good burger and fries. Like you just go right in there. And again, you still get the smells, the sounds of all the things that are going on in the scare zone right outside of it, so it gets like a little bit of best of both worlds.
Yeah.
See, I like Mel's at Halloween Horror Nights because I sit next to the window, and quite often scare actors actually come up to the windows.
We're not into Hollywood
yet. Interact with people. So I'm a Mel's girl.
No, I agree with you. The times we've had burgers at Halloween Horror Nights were both at Mel's.
And they do good coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And as what I was going to say earlier is for San Francisco goes as far as theming, I've been to San Francisco a lot. I actually lived in Northern California for a few years, and the theming doesn't do it for me compared to what I would consider to be San Francisco.
Okay.
So I don't walk through there and think San Francisco, to be honest with you.
Okay.
All right.
Are we moving on to number 6?
Yeah, I didn't have anything else.
No?
Yeah.
So let's have a look. Where were we going? So Chris, the next one's number 6. Chris had San Francisco at number 6. So as he said, a little bit higher. Ali still had it a little bit higher. We're not there yet. This is the one I have issues with.
Really?
Our number 6 is World Expo.
Yeah.
So Ali had it. Actually, I'll leave that one. Chris had it at number 7. Michelle had it at number 7. And Ali had it at number 8.
Wow.
Ali, clarify your answer for me, please. Wow.
Bossy. With pleasure, Lee.
You tell him, Ali.
I like the sound of that.
Good.
Okay, I walk in and I'm like, okay, great. I'm going right to Men in Black. There's no type of theming. There's nothing to say. This is what World Expo is. There's like a bunch of trees, and then there's a Coca-Cola little area, and then there's Men in Black, and that is it. Like, I just think it has such untapped potential in this area, and I don't think it's being used to the best of its ability because there's so much they can do there. There's so much more theming they could do there, and it's just not being utilized how it should be. And I don't see that there's a lot of effort in the theming there. And that's just my opinion. Like, again, I feel like Kid Zone has the theme of like, okay, this is where kids come to explore and hang out. You have Production Central. Oh, these are all the sound stages. It's just not, it just doesn't have it for me in terms of theming. And that's a make or break for me, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with all of those points, actually.
I don't,
agree
but
too.
okay. Chris, would you like to agree as well?
Yeah, actually I would. So I had this at number 7, and going back to what I said earlier, forgetting that E.T. was inside of Kid Zone, I probably would have switched them around and put it at the bottom. It has an awesome ride in there, arguably one of the best rides. But like Ali said, that's it. There's really nothing else going on over there. At one point, it made sense when there was, the Back to the Future ride and everything, and I think that used to all be connected together, if I'm not mistaken, and they had like a themed restaurant that kind of went with all that, and that was actually a land back then.
No, the restaurant wasn't really. It was the International Food and Film Festival or something, wasn't it? When nobody went into it.
I'm thinking international, that's why. But yeah, it doesn't have anything else going on for it. It's just a ride in the land there, and when doing these rankings, like you had mentioned when we started this, it's everything, right? It's not just what's the best ride here. It is theming, nostalgia, memories, whatever it is, all encompassed in one. So that's kind of why it's pretty low on the list.
Yep.
And I don't think that a ride makes a land. Like, you have to have many elements, to, and again, if you were to go up to a guest, wherever they're from, and ask, what is this area, or what is the theming of this area, you could definitely have somebody say in San Francisco, oh, it looks kind of like a dock, or it looks like a wharf, or it looks like something from the East Coast. At World Expo, you don't really know what you're looking at.
Right. It's to me, World Expo is kind of like Skull Island over at Islands. Like, it's a ride. It's not a land, even though it's named a land, but it doesn't make much sense because it's literally just a ride.
But
which
even
I
then,
love the ride.
They theme that land out to the ride. So there's no theming going on at Expo at all. It's just, 2 towers.
And honestly, I would have probably never even known it was called World Expo if I weren't listening to UUOP and then part of the UUOP.
So the 2 things that scream World Expo haven't given you the clue.
World Expo. The 2 towers.
The 2 towers are World Expo.
Literally World Expo. Like, that is the theme, and that's all you need, really.
We're the United States, my friend, not the world.
Yes, but the World Expo was in New York.
In the United States. Yes, I know.
But how can you name a whole, a whole land after 2 little tiny towers? I don't know.
Because that's what it is. Because that's what the World Expo was.
It was bigger than that.
It was Expo Center before.
No, when it is I do not have this ranked here. I will fight for it when I hit my ranking.
I don't want to talk about it too much at that point.
What?
Because that'll interfere when we get to your number. I mean, I know it's...
Okay.
Well, go, because we're going to move on to it next. So Tracy's got it at number 5, so...
For me, there's nostalgia. That is a place we always got our corn dogs from.
It was, yeah.
Yep. We had our first corn dogs ever there, actually. We had the fan photo taken.
Oh, yes, we always have out. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I never even considered that. Yeah.
There's our favourite ride that it's our most ridden ride, and completely brings out our competitive side.
Not just at Universal, not just in Florida, in the world.
And every single time we still dance our way back out of that ride. And some of the best toilets on property. And you know that I rate my toilets.
I think I might have had them as number 1 when we did our ranking of bathrooms.
Because they're clean for a start.
I've got this much higher.
I'm sure you do. Yeah.
Yeah, we all kind of assume.
I don't have it much higher.
Because Men in Black is my favourite ride, as Tracy just said there. We have ridden that more than anything, anywhere, and by a lot as well. It's not a couple of rides, it is a lot.
It's also our record for most consecutive rides as well.
Yeah, it's also...
the most people riding it.
Like you brought up there, I'd never even played that into it, the fact that the Men in Black challenge has become a staple of any podcast meetup we do in the parks now. Apart from the Sapphire Falls one last time, and in park, anything in park always has that. But for me, the second biggest thing that puts this as high up on my list as it is, this is one of the, and it's weird, one of the areas that takes me back to Halloween Horror Nights. Because for some reason we tend to hang out a lot there. Those are the bathrooms we tend to go to. I think it's because...
I'm glad you didn't say hang out.
Don't those tent houses usually let out there, or they used to?
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
And there's usually drinks huts opposite
It's a busy area for sure.
Yeah,
Halloween Horror Nights.
It instantly takes me back to Halloween Horror Nights being in that area, and especially at Horror Nights 25. We spent a lot of time because Insidious was like one of our favorite houses that year, and we did it quite a lot. So we spent a lot of time. I agree, there's not a huge amount of theming, but I think the theming is relevant to what it is.
Well, I think that very easily they could have done more to make it feel like a land. Like put some hidden aliens out and about that you can interact with somehow.
You have it.
I believe we would have talked about it by now if there were. Bring out some characters or some actors that
they do
from the movie.
They do.
Have agents.
You've never met the agents.
I don't care. But I'm talking about actual like alien type, hidden alien type.
Yeah,
but if they're hidden, then you're not going to see
like humans. They're all over the place. Oh my god.
No, they're not.
They are. There's thousands of them.
It wouldn't take
just like in real life
much. It wouldn't take much to make it feel more like a land,
but you're saying to theme it to Men in Black as opposed to theming
that's what World Expo is. That's what World Expo is.
That's the only thing there.
It was created by the Men in Black. So
all I know is I'm not changing my ranking. And I stand by it.
I never expected you to, and I give you props for not, because I wouldn't either if it was me. So moving on, this is what I love about doing these episodes, because everyone has their opinions and everyone's steadfastly sticking to it, and it's great. So moving on to number 5, as I said, Tracy had World Expo at number 5. So our number 5 is Production Central. So I had this at number 5. Ali had it at number 6. Michelle has it slightly higher. Chris has it even slightly higher.
Higher? Wow.
And Tracy had it slightly lower at 6. So Ali and Tracy agreed.
Yes.
So, ladies?
After you, Ali.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, I think it definitely feels like you're walking into the sound stages. Like it really brings you into, okay, this is you call it Universal Studios for this reason. You're walking into these sound stages that house these amazing attractions. So I feel like you do get the sense of what this park is all about via Production Central. Of course, with Shrek 4D being gone, I deducted points. But again, it has a really cute, Despicable Me ride that is really enjoyable for kids. It's something that kids can kind of ride right away. It has Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket. It has a lot of great potential as well. I just feel like it could be more about, the movies themselves as well. Like I don't know. I just felt like it has a great presence, but I'm not, I think there's more that could be done here, which again could result in what they're doing now in the future. Who knows? But I think there's definitely more potential for this area. And that's kind of why, again, I ranked it not a little low. I ranked it at number 6. It's higher than a couple of other areas which house my favorite attractions. So I do think it has a lot of potential with it tying into Universal Studios, but I do think that there's more that could be done with this area in the future.
Yeah, I agree.
Is Transformers classed as being part of Production Central? I never know where it is. Okay.
No, I agree with what Ali's saying. It's like you walk through the gates. That's your introduction to the park as well. So they are missing something, because for me, it's just a corridor. It's always congested, and there's always parked strollers that you're tripping over, and it gets really hot on that basic just thoroughfare straight down. And unfortunately, a lot of people do that thing. They get in the park and they stop at the first thing, so it becomes a bottleneck at times.
That's why Despicable Me usually has the biggest wait times.
Rip Ride Rocket, that's brilliant.
I'm surprised Michelle's got this slightly higher.
Transformers, awesome. Happy with that. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind a last minute shop. That's on the corner. What's that?
Well, the Today Cafe is classed as Hollywood.
Oh, that's okay then. That's fine. I won't panic over that. I have still not forgiven them for Despicable Me, Minion Mayhem. I'm sorry. Bring back Jimmy Neutron. That was my must ride. Every trip. I loved that. Yeah, I mean, can't really add any more.
See, for me, Production Central is Universal Studios. Like when I think of Universal Studios, that is the first thing that comes to my mind is
Really?
that corridor as you walk in. Because again, going there as a kid, like it was much more of a working, I mean, it still is a working studio, but that was much more of like a obvious occurrence. So that still feels like the most nostalgic to me of walking through the arches, and that like you feel like you're about to be part of a movie, or like something could be happening there, some type of recording, or I don't know, something. That whole idea of a production happening and there being sound stages there, that to me is like what Universal Studios is about. So regardless of the rides that are there, that doesn't matter. It's about the feeling that you get when you walk through there, and the potential for your day. That's like the beginning of it. I do like Despicable Me, Minion Mayhem. It's not terrible. I think it's cute. I love all the stores that are there. I tend to spend a good bit of time there, to be honest with you. Not on Rip Ride Rocket, but I do. There's a whole lot going on over there, and I love Transformers. Is Mel's considered? No, Mel's would be part of
Mel's is Hollywood.
No, yeah, it's like right on the corner.
Do the arches count? I'm curious.
Technically.
Yeah, right? Okay. All right. Yeah.
I would class I think where we argued over whether we classed the lighthouse as part of port of entry when we did that. I can't remember whether we actually... Yeah, but I can't remember whether we actually decided it was or it wasn't, because I think technically it's outside of the park. But anyway.
I mean, I'll defend my higher ranking. I won't give away my ranking. But for me, I think it sets that tone. The entrances to a park are very important because it puts you into a state of mind. Right.
Yep.
And the arches for me, the globe, we won't consider that unless you want to. But all that kind of stuff gets your mind into that, that state. Aside from the things you've already mentioned, like Rip Ride Rocket, one of my favorite rides there at the park. It does also have the Monster Cafe, which is really cool to hang out in there. And the other one that really drew this to be higher on my list is Music Plaza. And that's because I've seen such amazing shows there during Mardi Gras. Some really good performers. And it's a staple that me and Alexa do every single Grinchmas. We go watch the live performance there. Yeah. It's the same show. But you know what? It's our tradition. We love doing it. We sit down on the lawn and we just really enjoy ourselves. So I think it has a lot of stuff going on for it. And we spend a lot more time than other areas in the park over, in Production Central. So that's kind of why for me, it ranked a bit higher on the list.
Yeah, okay. We've never caught a show, have we?
So I've got it at number 5, which is where it is on the list. And I agree with pretty much everything everybody said, but all you've done is back up my choice to have it this. Because, Ali, I'd never even considered that theming, to be fair. I don't think ever. It made a lot of sense with it being... I've never actually put 2 and 2 together that it is supposed to be like a backlot. Yeah. But the problem is that identity of Universal Studios Florida isn't there anymore. And then when they added Rip Ride Rocket into it, it changed it even more. And I just think for the entrance to a park, yes, the globe's amazing. It's such an iconic thing. The arches are, again, just if you think of three major things at Universal Orlando, it's the lighthouse, the globe, and the arches. But then I think once you get past that, it kind of lets itself down. And again, I would back that up by saying how well themed port of entry is. That I think it makes Production Central look a little like it just doesn't know what it's trying to be right now.
I think the only theming left there is really the cabbie in the front.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think it could. That's where I was kind of getting at with the potential, because I feel like, at some points, I know there were entertainment elements that were movie themed. I know they had a director in there. I know they had other elements in terms of characters, kind of really bring that production theme to life, and you could really have a great area, but it really would come to life with characters. Like we were talking about with World Expo, hide some aliens here and there, like that would help. I think Production Central is very similar, where it could help to have a little bit more movie theming as well, even in characters.
I think my biggest issue, and this is my mic drop moment, right? It's Production Central. You have an area just round the corner that is Hollywood, and your major roller coaster in Production Central is called Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket. I mean, I know they can't move it, and it's the Hollywood Bowl, but it's in Production Central, and Hollywood's over there. So, okay.
Well, stuff was made in Hollywood, so are we to assume Production Central is a place in Hollywood?
That's what I was kind of thinking.
I was thinking that too.
Okay.
It's like Universal Studios Hollywood. The whole studio
Hollywood was like
is
the
in
movie mecca.
Okay.
Hollywood, yeah.
All right. I'll give you that one. So I've just made me look like a total ass. Whatever. I'll cut that out. I can just edit it out and it won't be there now.
You didn't need our help, my friend.
But it's a good point. Like, why did they name a separate section Hollywood? Why did they not just call the whole thing Hollywood?
Yeah.
I think the again, I know we're going to talk about Hollywood more, but I think the allure of that is the pristine, like nostalgic, like nature of old Hollywood, where I feel like a new coaster would detract from that. The theming and the beauty of it. I feel like they put it in a place that is kind of the rough and tumble steel type of area where you have a really good view of overall of the park. Yeah. And it makes sense to have a big, coaster in the front of the park. But I think for me, I think it definitely would detract from the beauty that is Hollywood if a big coaster was in there.
Agreed.
Well,
is that area technically called Avenue of the Stars, or is it called Hollywood?
On the
it's
park
technically Hollywood.
But it is also known as Avenue of the Stars for some reason.
Because it's got the
it's also going back to kind of the name, the Production Central. I think also, I was looking back at an older map too. Nickelodeon used to be part of that. And then you had your row of the lots, right? The studios. So I think that's like the actual production of that kind of gave it its production name, as well as the lot that used to be there that was part of a tour that you would see actual props used in movies.
Oh, the Boneyard. So,
the Boneyard was right there. It's on that same strip.
Yeah, which is
so
weird.
I think that's kind of why they did a differentiator between Hollywood and Production Center.
Yeah, that Boneyard was there the first visit we went, but I don't remember seeing it, and I don't remember going round it. I don't actually remember what was... It's one of those things now that Rip Ride Rocket's been there for so long that I can't visualize what was there before it.
Yeah.
So moving on, we are moving on to number 4, which is where Michelle had Production Central. And number 4... is Springfield, USA.
Okay.
All right.
Now, Michelle and I both had this at number 6.
Oh.
Ali and Chris both had it at number 4. And Tracy had it slightly higher. So, Michelle, why was it number 6 for you?
Well, one, I'm not like a huge Simpsons fan. I don't dislike them. I watch it, but I'm not a huge fan. I don't like the ride at all. It makes me so crazy, nauseous, and sick, but my daughter makes me ride it every time. I don't like the carnival aspect of having to, walk through this whole area where you have to pay more money to participate. Like I think that's antiquated, and those kinds of areas of expensive theme parks need to go away. So I'm not crazy about that. The only thing I really do like in the land is the food. They have a lot of great food options there. And that's really, other than taking Krissa on the ride, that's really the only reason I ever stop in that area.
Yes, Fast Food Boulevard is still probably one of the top 3 places to eat in Universal Studios, Florida. The ride, we don't do it a lot. I think the reason we don't, well, I think it's because we're embarrassed because our daughter pooed herself in there when we went once. Oh yes, that was an interesting.
It was contained. Don't worry,
she's not listening.
She doesn't normally, so.
But it's one of those that I think it's such a slow loader that even when it's quiet, it's busy. So which is why we tend not to. I can't even remember the last time we went on The Simpsons, to be honest. It's been
God
a while.
forbid you get stuck on like the line facing the sun on the outside.
Yeah, it's horrendous.
The inside is worse for me. Like even just thinking about it right now, I'm getting nauseous because it's so, once you get put into like the room and then the ride itself, it's so muggy and hot. And then you add in like the movement and oh my God, it's like the trifecta of motion sickness.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge, like the opposite of Michelle, right? I had this at number 4. I'm a huge Simpsons fan. I've been watching it since I was a little kid. That's what I used to come home to and watch after school. And, when you're sitting on the queue, you get to watch some classic, Simpsons clips. And then getting up into the ride, I think it's very well, highly themed.
Yeah.
Not interactive, but it feels like they're there and you're like inside of an episode of The Simpsons. So that's fun. The ride itself, if they put a new screen on there, I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
But and then on the opposite side, one of the reasons why I had this ranked at number 4 is I actually love the Carnival Games. It's one of those things. I think I mentioned it before.
Oh, we did. We talked about it last.
You guys do, yes.
Like once a year, I'll come and I'll have to win one of the Simpsons donuts to give it to my cat to sit on.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah.
We literally just talked about that.
Yeah, we did
really
2 weeks ago.
It's funny that came up. And we would buy like that card to go and play, games there. And we'll hold that card throughout the year. And every time we walk by, Alexa will be like, "Are you feeling it today? Are you feeling it?" And I'm like, not today. No. Or I am feeling it and we'll play. So it's a land that, we spend, some time in. We don't ride the ride often, I'll be honest. But also the other memories I have of that land is during Horror Nights and having that roaming clown horde, which is just awesome. So
cool.
And just sitting there grabbing a beer at Duff Brewery and watching these clowns scare everybody, it's just awesome.
Yeah. We've done that Stay and Scream a couple of times. Actually, it's a really good one.
We need to redo this whole episode, but for Halloween Horror Nights. Because I think it would totally change the rankings of the lands.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
This is a great Stay and Scream area too for Horror Nights. But I ranked it high because, again, my dad is a huge Simpsons fan. I'm a fan. I'm not a huge fan, but my dad is a really big Simpsons fan. And I remember when I took him to the land for the first time, like we got a Flaming Moe, we got a Duff beer, we got a Lard Lad donut, like. All the things that are just the staple, a Krusty Burger, all the things that are such a staple in the Simpsons fandom is there. Like Fast Food Boulevard is amazing. I mean, again, for the Lard Lad donut alone, it should be high. I mean, come on. It's a huge donut and it's delicious.
I wouldn't know.
You have to bring it up to
every time.
Yeah, and you have to get one. And just, the theming is great. Like there's wall-to-wall theming everywhere. You go into the Quickie Mart. There's even a wall going to the back of house area. Like there's Bart, writing some graffiti on the wall. Like there's like, it's again, I feel like it's just the details in it that really, make it for a Simpsons fan, and I saw that through my dad's eyes. Like he loved it. And again, I think it's a cool area. Again, it's, the theming is just amazing. So
everyone's
I think
making me question
that's why it's high on my list.
Everyone's making me question where I've got it now.
Don't forget answer the phone.
Which one do you have it at?
Number 6.
Okay.
Idiot.
Yeah. See, everyone's missing.
I'm not an idiot.
No, because you haven't got.
I had it at number 16.
Yeah.
Everybody's missing. I know because you've got it higher, so you get to go.
No, you made me. I thought I was having to do it now because you've made me do it.
No, but you get
before.
to go because you had it higher, so you can in a second. Everyone's missing out the best ride in that land, to be honest.
Am I?
Everyone, you're not speaking yet. Twirl and Hurl.
King and Kodos.
Yeah. And it's such a
Twirl and Hurl.
It's such a bog standard ride but it's Universal don't like you look at One Fish, Two Fish over in Islands, it's a spinner, but it's better than all the crap that's at Disney. And I think the same with Twirl and Hurl. Yeah, again, we don't ride it that often, and I don't know why that is.
You don't do round
I do now,
rides.
though. I can't round rides.
I never
Round
ride
and
that just because it
round
looks like the surface of the sun every time.
I mean,
it can be. So
it just needs some shading. That's it. Just throw me a little shade, and I'll be riding that all the time.
But it's
You're not
overcast.
wrong. It's very hot.
At dusk.
It's like I kind of agree with what Michelle said, but then I don't because I'm not a fan of Carnival Games in theme parks, but it fits in Springfield.
Yeah. Yeah, where they want to nickel and dime you the entire time. Like that's Krusty Land, right? That's kind of the so it's like almost theming to what the ride is. Like even the food they sell, like the hot dogs or
the heat lamp dog.
Yes.
Heat lamp dogs,
and the chicken finger. Was it chicken thumbs?
Chicken thumbs.
Chicken thumbs. Yeah.
Yeah, this is where you get away with, nickel and diming everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, it does fit and it is well themed, but this for me it was one of those things where I liked other lands more. That's where so it just kind of got bumped down, but yeah. It's still good.
So Tracy, you had it at number 3.
I did.
Wow.
Because A, food. B, the theming is phenomenal. You can't look anywhere and not see Simpsons. It just is yellow.
It's like even the bathrooms are themed like that. You see, I'm really questioning now. Android Dungeon, whatever it's called.
Android's Dungeon, yep. And then we have more food. And we have Duff Brewery.
Bumblebee, man. Yeah,
and we have more food. And we have...
seriously questioning my decision.
We have the seating area behind Duff Brewery.
Yeah.
Which is a great place to go and sit and either eat or have a beer and just chill and look across the lagoon and just hear the park. Just take it in. The loos are really good. Again, I know it's not... It is that important.
Important to a theme park.
They are. Yeah, I mean, there's some funny things going on in though. That sounds really bad. If you listen to the the audio, thank you. Yes, that makes me laugh every single time.
Spider Pig. There's always a Spider Pig music. What I always remember from the bathrooms. That's weird. Yeah, the ride itself, the mechanics of it are jarring. The story is actually quite funny.
cute, and it's funny.
Yeah.
And actually, the outside ramp portion, when you're getting up towards the top, gives you some of the best views of the park, and I've taken some of my best photographs up there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like having a metaverse for The Simpsons, where they have they're in this ride that they're building a theme park. It's like it's everything that The Simpsons would do and be in this specific area.
Yeah,
and it's very true to the franchise.
Yeah,
and even though the ride's not that great, the ride does feel like an episode of The Simpsons.
Yeah,
and there's so much quotable stuff in that ride. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I think everybody kind of forgot about it because I just remembered right now we also have a DeLorean in that area.
Is that classed as Springfield? It's kind of weird.
But that is where Back to the Future was.
That's where the Back to the Future used to be, so they put it in
and
Springfield.
A train as well.
Yeah.
Doc Brown, okay.
Yep.
Maybe I should have had it higher.
It's an extra bonus we get.
Yeah, but I mean, apart from apple chips, I don't think we've had a bad...
No, that turkey wrap we had last time was disgusting.
Yeah, that was quite bad, actually.
I was like, I want something light, not covered in vinegar.
Yeah. But no, it's a place where I always want to loiter. It's very photogenic. Very photogenic.
I'm actually looking at it now and thinking...
I think
it's probably one of the most cohesively themed lands in the park.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
And the signage. I mean, not just the midway games, but just things like stroller parking and the height gauge and stuff like that. It's all themed, and there is some phenomenal gags
in there. It's just fun theming.
Yeah, to consider that it was retrofitted over something that was already there as well. They've done a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like that.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, no.
No, not at all.
So I'm a big fan of this area.
Okay. I'd even love to go to Hollywood to go see like their Simpsons.
Yeah, theirs looks awesome.
Because theirs is even cooler.
Yeah, the power plant meltdown like every half an hour, doesn't it? It's awesome. Right, so moving on to number 3, we have Hollywood. I don't think this is a shock. I think the top 3 is pretty self-explanatory, apart from Ali's number 1 and 2. But anyway, we'll get to that.
Leave Ali alone.
Oh.
Yes,
suspense.
Exactly.
I told you in the beginning, Lee, I have my reasons.
I know, and I'm interested
to hear it. I will defend them.
Good.
I'm actually glad that you didn't go down the route that everyone probably expected to. Anyway, Hollywood. So Ali, Michelle, and myself all had it at 3, and Chris had it at 5, and Tracy had it at 4. Chris, why so low?
Yeah. I mean, 5 isn't that low. It's an area that we don't spend as much time in. It has 2 awesome shows, right? You got Born and Horror Makeup. It's great. And also has some pretty awesome scare zones during horror nights. But aside from that, we don't spend a whole lot of time, in there. And I don't know if it's even considered part of it, but Central Park is connected. I don't know. Does that count as Hollywood?
I left Central Park out because I wasn't quite sure where it was part of.
Should be in New York.
Right, because technically Central Park should be part of New York.
Yeah, that was such a strange one. It's a weird.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I thought 5 was good. I like Springfield over this, and my other ones that we're going to get to. But it's not a bad area. It's just we don't spend a whole lot of time in there. We're just kind of more of a walkthrough than anything else.
Okay, Tracy. Which I'm surprised at you that you didn't have it higher up.
Yeah, I mean, it has everything that I love, and I love window shopping, if you like. But we haven't done Born yet.
No.
So there was that factor.
But I don't think that's going to. I don't think
it's
you're
going
going
to
watch it and go, oh, well, that wasn't worth it.
It has the horror makeup show. I adore that. But as I'm thinking, I mean, I was like, well, there's Schwab's, but
it's hardly ever open.
Yeah,
we did last time.
I didn't.
Yeah, I did. We got a bottle of water that cost me $5.
There's the prop shop.
Mm-hmm.
There is the Passholder Lounge, which I like going in there because I always need a little bit. It's
exclusive.
No, but I always need a little bit of respite. It's actually quite cool, and as in temperature wise, and I quite like it in there. And then there's Mel's. That's like the end of it.
It's got the Photoshop place.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that?
Yeah.
Amazing
Pictures.
Yeah,
isn't it?
I couldn't think what it was called.
Amazing Pictures. That's the one. We had our group portrait.
We did.
Right?
Yes, that was fun.
You see,
your green T-shirt on.
I did struggle with this, but Springfield had to come higher. But with this, I do like looking around because the architecture. I know it's fake architecture, but the architecture is amazing.
Ali kind of led to it earlier that it's Hollywood.
And oh crap. It's also got a recording studio.
Oh my god!
Oh.
Yeah, how could you have that?
I think I need to change it on my list.
That's why it was high on mine.
Damn it!
It's also got a lot of character interactions there. Yeah. Which you don't really find other places. Like you never know who you're going to run into there.
That's true.
So it's always a surprise. So you might run into the Simpsons characters or the Scooby-Doo characters or Beetlejuice or
Brown.
Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah, we bumped into Doc there, didn't we? In Facade with Holly and
they're
Rich.
very interactive with you there.
Yeah, the Flintstones we met there.
Yeah.
So I love that for sure.
And that's also where the Superstar Parade starts. So a lot of those floats and a lot of those characters come out throughout the day. And again, if you took a picture of Hollywood with the trees and with the stars, like you would say, okay, where am I? Like, am I in a theme park or am I in California right now?
Yeah.
That's just me. Again, I'm not native to California, but for me, that was a really big realization when I went there the first time was where am I? And also, again, all the shops, my favorite shops are in this area. Five and Dime, Williams of Hollywood, Schwab's Pharmacy, Today Cafe.
Which Tracy hasn't mentioned yet. Oh, pardon your language.
That's my entire reason for going. Ali, how could you let me drop that ball?
I'm sorry.
That's our place.
Yeah, no, but again, that's my favorite place to eat in the park. So
agreed.
I feel like that. So that was, again, I think what my big thing. And of course it has my favorite shows there too. It has the horror makeup show, which is, I think my favorite theme park show of all time.
Yes, ma'am. And agreed.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yep. So I feel like there's so much going for it. The theming, the shows, the entertainment, it has everything.
Yeah. I mean,
I literally want to rank it so much higher just because the recording studio. Like the recording studio alone was such an experience that it kind of beats other things. It's very difficult.
You guys know that we did an episode of this podcast probably 5 or 6 years ago at this point of our Universal Orlando bucket list items. And we did, I think it was 5 reasonably achievable ones and ones that will probably never happen. And my number one on my list of things that will probably never happen was to record an episode of this podcast in the broadcast center. Yeah. Well, there you go. Apparently I was wrong. As Ali and Tracy both said, the Today Cafe is probably our favourite place to eat inside the parks, plural.
Anywhere. Matcha green tea.
We have eaten there so much since it opened, and we've only been twice since, and we've eaten there at least 7 times. In fact, it's where we had lunch with Ali.
That's why I said our place.
Yes.
One of my favorite memories.
Yes,
yeah, I was too.
So cool. But yeah,
so piping cold AC too.
Horror Makeup Show is awesome. I can't wait to see Born. I know we haven't seen it, but I think just off its reputation alone, it deserves to be high.
It's so good.
Halloween Horror Nights, scare zones there usually. One of my best memories of Halloween Horror Nights in Diagon Alley at 25 happened in Hollywood. It's usually the way we leave the park. We rarely go down Production Central to leave the park. We would usually go out that way. The Passholder Lounge is awesome. Prop Shop's awesome. It's just, I think it is just one of the most iconic lands in the park, and that's why I've got it at number 3.
Absolutely. And it has the radio broadcast center. I mean, again, that alone.
I mean,
I am kicking myself at the moment.
I know.
Look, to be fair, I did this list coming off the back of a horrendous migraine, one of the worst I've had in a long time.
I know.
So that's my defense. It's poor. I'm not really accepting it, but
it's because it happened.
It is what it is.
It's because it happened literally like a month prior to COVID, and then COVID wiped our memories, and it's like it didn't happen.
That'll do it. Yeah, that's it.
So should we do a ranking adjustment period after we hit number 1?
No.
Should we see if anybody has any changes?
He doesn't allow that.
No. What is done is done. So moving on to number 2, and this might shock a few people. Well, it won't shock a few people, but I think someone's rankings for what is at number 2 may. So our number 2 is New York. I had this at number 2. Michelle had this at number 2. Chris had this at number 2, and Tracy had this at number 2. Ali did not have this at number 2. Let's just leave it at there for the time being.
Okay. I do feel like Ali's being bullied slightly here.
See, she's the wild card right now.
Yes.
I like it.
So New York.
Again.
New York is, again, like Hollywood. It's so well themed. In fact, it's outside of another land, it's probably the best themed, because you think about Sting Alley, you go down there and you do not feel like you're in a theme park anymore. Like we've hung out taking pictures in there at like 9:30 and then at night, technically after the park's closed, and you do not feel like you are in an Orlando theme park. I love
cobblestone floor as well.
Yeah, the Mummy's awesome. The Blues Brothers show's awesome. Yeah. I love Jimmy Fallon.
Mm-hmm.
Surprisingly enough, I can't throw food into this because we've never eaten at Louis, and I know we've never eaten at Finnegan's.
We haven't even drank at Finnegan's.
They serve food there? Well,
I've taken a Starbucks.
And they have live music.
Yes.
Come on, guys.
Yes,
I know.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. It's just it. I think, I can't remember who it was said that when I think about Universal Studios Florida, that's the area I think of. Michelle, was it you about Production Central? Or was it Ali?
No, I said that about Production Central.
Right. So for me, New York is the area I think of. It's usually the scare zone we hang out at the most at Horror Nights, because it usually has, for me, the most interactive scare zones in there. You think how much we hung out in Zombieland Double Tap.
Oh, it was so much fun.
At 29 was the only scare I got that year was in that scare in that land. It's just
then it should be your number 1.
No, because there's a reason why my number 1 is my number 1, and a little bit of peer pressure. I'll be honest as well. But it's just like the theming was amazing before, and then they tear out Twister and put 30 Rock in, and now that theming's gone up a notch even more, which Chris, you talked about 2 weeks ago, of that theming for that building is perfect.
Spot on. Yeah, you couldn't make it any more like the studio in New York.
it just is the quintessential. It is the perfect representation of New York, and not that I've been there, but from what I know, in that theme park, it has everything. I think when we did an episode of this podcast years ago, where if you had to live in one land for a week, where would it be?
Yeah.
And I think New York was mine because it's got decent eateries, it's got decent attractions, there's live music. It has everything.
Yeah. See,
and all Ali's thinking is, so why is it not number one? Because everything you're saying about it means it should be number one.
Yeah.
But it does have everything.
It also
that you want in a theme park. It also land.
Hosts the majority of Mardi Gras.
Yes,
with your food street, and it has a tribute store.
Yes, the film vault. We haven't been in the film vault for a while. Oh, the tribute.
The tribute.
Sorry,
good Lord.
Wow.
Lee will be tendering his resignation.
Can I jump in here for a minute?
I can see Allie just going up.
Okay.
She's chomping at the bit, guys.
Go. Okay. Spoiler alert, this is my number one. And this is why. because like New York, the actual city, everything happens in the park in this location. You have the tribute store for Halloween Horror Nights, and for now, literally every annual event.
Yes.
You have the Universal Monsters store now. That's one of my favorite parts of the park now. You have you have Finnegan's, which is a great bar, a great place to eat, great live music. You can literally you see live shows in the streets, multiple live shows in the streets, at any given time throughout the day. You have incredibly themed, places like Sting Alley that are really hidden. That if you discover them, it opens up, the theming into a whole different level. And again, 30 Rock is there. You literally feel like you're in New York, and not that you don't into the next phase that we're going to go into. But I just think that for me, that is when I go to Universal Studios Florida, I have to go to New York. There's no question about it. It also houses my favorite attraction. Revenge of the Mummy is my favorite attraction, probably of all time.
Wow.
And also because I'm a big Egyptian fan. I mean, one of my bucket list items is to go to Egypt, and I'm trying to make it happen for next year. And that would be 10 plus days of just looking at all of the Egypt, all the pyramids and everything like that. So when they opened the Mummy, which is also my favorite movie, when they opened Revenge of the Mummy, I was there, and I remember, I remember the tall, I guess Pharaoh in the queue on stilts that scared the crap out of you in the corner. It's a mix for me of the theming is amazing. Everything has a purpose. There's nostalgia in the windows. Everything happens in this area. The trip, for every annual event, the Christmas tree is there. The tribute stores are there. The big moments in every parade are there.
I just feel like,
okay. So is my argument
take that
worthy?
Yes,
okay?
Absolutely.
Yes. You've kind of made me go, you're kind of right, actually. But there's one big reason why I still think my number one is my number one.
I just jump in. It's also got a Christmas shop.
You heard me out about New York, and I will be sticking to that.
It is the action hub of Universal Studios Florida.
It is. Yep.
Yeah. You used to have Ghostbusters too.
I wish I'd seen that.
And you you have the New York Library Street front, and Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket runs right through it. It just, again, it has so much action in every single place, along with just an incredible theming any time of the year.
It's a very kinetic area.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little details. I think my favorite detail of that whole area is the subway station.
Yes.
Right next to the tribute store.
Yes.
That's totally useless.
Yeah.
They didn't have to put that there for any reason at all, but it's there and it's super cool. You don't really notice it unless you make it a point to go over there. So I love New York. I've been to New York many times, and it is very New York. It's very old school New York.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is cool. I agree. The Mummy you can't beat the Mummy. It's a great ride. I love the New York Library facade. Again, it's another one of those things that they could have taken down. It doesn't need to be there, but it's cool. And there's just lots of those little details there. And I do love Louis. I eat there.
Ooh, yeah.
I wouldn't say every time, but I just about every Halloween Horror Nights night, I end up eating there.
Okay.
As well as Mel's. Don't call me fat.
Nobody
It's a long
did.
night. It's a long night. But yeah. Number 2 for sure.
For us, one of our traditions that we do every single trip, doesn't matter. So we go ride Men in Black.
That's not
we
in
bet
New York.
we'll win. I know. I'm getting there. Hold your horses. We go ride Men in Black. We bet on who's going to beat the other person. And loser buys drinks at Finnegan's.
Fair
and
enough.
It's just our tradition every single time.
I've heard you say
And
that.
if you're lucky, like Ali had mentioned, I find it more on Sundays than any other day that I go there on, like from Friday to Sunday. But you'll get lucky and just find a performer on a guitar just playing in there, and we'll hang out in there for a while. You know, for us, the trips aren't as fast paced as other people because we go quite often, but it's a great hangout area. They also do have really amazing food in there, and yeah, it's also has one of the best rides, the Mummy, in there, and also arguably the best scare zones. As well.
Yeah, for definite.
Yep.
When I sent my list to Lee, I literally told him I'm having the most difficult time with my 1 and 2 right now because they're going back and forth. It was hard. It was hard.
You made the right choice.
No question from me.
So our number 1, if you haven't already worked it out, it is the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Diagon Alley. And I had it at 1, Michelle had it at 1, Chris had it at 1, Tracy had 1, and Ali was the odd one out at number 2.
I did have it at number 2 initially.
How can you put... Right, I understand why Ali put it at number 2. Because you're next... number 2. But
it was everything Ali said that I was like, yeah,
yes,
it's kind of like...
But...
Yes.
Give the soapbox to the Potter nerds. Let's go.
Yes,
go
come
ahead.
on, please.
So taking out the Harry Potter element to it at all, this land has had such an impact on the theme park business as a whole that they built Hogsmeade and then Disney built Pandora, and then they upped their game with Diagon Alley, which is give us Galaxy's Edge. I think without Hogsmeade, you don't get any of that other stuff. But then Diagon Alley taking that to that next level, you don't get the theme park lands that we're getting nowadays. It literally changed the bar of what a theme park land was that you've never had, and still kind of not really the same as they did. That other than a bit of the dragon from the top of it, you cannot see that land from outside of it. You have to
Which
go
is part of the coolness of that, the theming of that land.
Yeah, and I've also heard some people get lost in there and can't find their way out.
Or the way in either, apparently.
Either way.
It is themed. We talked about how well themed Springfield is, how well themed Hollywood was in New York, but Diagon Alley is just, as someone who has read those books multiple times and has watched all the films multiple times, it is the Wizarding World 360 degrees, exactly what you would expect Diagon Alley to be. And so many little details to discover in that land, even to the point where they took stuff that doesn't exist in the books and added it on with Carket Market. And then having like Celestina Warbeck and the puppet shows, the Tale of the Three Brothers and the Fountain of Fair Fortune, which are amazing. Gringotts is a decent ride. It's elevating itself more every time I ride it because I can't ride Forbidden Journey as much as I used to. But again, putting you inside a story that you know, and then Florian Fortescue's like, what more do you need? That place is, it is theming to the nth degree.
It's a literal case study for theming 101 in a college setting.
Yeah.
How to build the most perfect land. Boom, right there. There you go. In the sense of thematics. And it's also one of those lands that I always describe whenever having this conversation, where it replaced a land that was very much loved.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't outdated. It still had plenty of guests coming through. And yet, most of the people that you speak to will say that is the only acceptable replacement for that land.
Yes,
so you had to do something so much better that people that loved Jaws still said, I'm okay with it going because we got this.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's a hard thing to do in the theme park, as we've seen in other areas.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Come on, Mrs.
It's so awesome. It's it's themed top to bottom for any Potterhead out there. You and I even tell my clients this, for those who are like taking their Potter loving child or whoever there for the first time, I tell them you have to start in Diagon Alley, just like Harry does in the series, because it feels so real. And for anybody who is a fan of that series, I mean, it almost brings you to tears when you experience it the first time. And I can't name any other land that invokes such a strong response in people.
I can't Hogsmeade.
Walk into Shrek.
No, I mean, Diagon Alley is even better than Hogsmeade, in my opinion, but that's another episode.
I disagree, but okay.
It's incredible. And because you've also got the London waterfront, right? Which is part of it.
Yeah.
And just as themed. And you guys know better than any of us as far as how well that King's Cross Station is themed.
Lee doesn't. He's never been.
Yeah, Tracy,
with Creature being in the window, there's all these little details that didn't have to be there that are there. And of course, a huge part of that is thanks to J.K. Rowling and her control she had over the building of, the way that it was built.
I think she had less control over Diagon Alley than she did over Hogsmeade.
I don't know, but regardless, it's amazing.
It also has one of the most coolest, I don't know how to explain it. One of the coolest rides ever built.
Where?
It has the train.
The Hogwarts Express.
Oh, okay.
The Hogwarts Express, because it's the most ingenious thing ever for a theme park to do. Build a ride that requires you to have a pass for 2 parks.
Yeah.
And they didn't shortchange you either. Like, you're getting such a cool experience. The park is getting their money, having to upgrade their ticket. Everybody wins in that scenario. And I think I know it belongs to both, but I think that's also a very, very cool ride.
I agree.
You have to, include that in the area, I think.
Go on then, Tracy. You're pulling faces.
I've got this ranked way too high.
What?
What?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Well, you can't change it now, woman.
I know.
Go on.
It looks great. It is. As I say, it's just, you are completely encompassed. That is it. Top to bottom, you get in there. That is it. Nowhere else exists. You got that dragon. That dragon's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Nocturne Alley. Love Nocturne Alley.
Nocturne Alley.
Yeah.
Could spend hours in there. I've got some good food options.
Yeah, the Leaky Cauldron's decent.
I'm not a butterbeer fan. And, well, we won't get into pumpkin juice at the moment.
Because you can't get it anymore.
Draft is not the same. It does not taste anything like. The butterbeer soft serve is the best ice cream.
Agreed.
However, protect our child here. Protect me, Jade. The shows aren't particularly my favourites. I go and see them for Lee. If Lee didn't want to see them, I wouldn't.
There might be a horse job going, Ali.
And
sounds good.
There might be, because I know how to take Lee. I'll win. You know how I feel about Gringotts. It's grown on me, but not. It would be, if I had to rank all the rides, it would be mid to low mid level in my rankings. God. I like the area. I love the area. It gets too busy and too hot at times.
That does play a huge part in it.
I'm not a fan of the Carpet Market and adding on new imaginary elements, because I am a purist.
But how do you know it doesn't exist?
Because I have not read it.
That doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
In the current set of books and stories and expansions, there is no Carpet Market.
Just because it's not mentioned doesn't mean it's not there.
But that's exactly what it means.
No, it doesn't.
He's really mad that you don't like the show.
Yeah.
I'm
But it
just
doesn't.
letting you know.
Just because you don't mention it doesn't mean
Who's
it
the one doing
exist.
the literature degree?
Just because you don't... If I don't mention something at work, doesn't mean it's not there. But just because I haven't told you about it, doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
I don't care about work anywhere.
No, me either.
I've realised that actually it's not my favourite area. I like it. But, for the purpose of the
So
show.
you're on Team New York,
I
right,
am.
Tracy?
Absolutely, yeah. I think actually, for me now, Diagon Alley is probably about.
I have one converted.
What?
Who else is next?
No, I mean, look, you put a very compelling argument
Peer
together, but
pressure?
I'm still not changing it.
Peer pressure.
Well, okay. I will say this. I mean, again, every point you made, Lee, is spot on. Right? I mean, it's amazing. You're immersed. You can't really see anywhere outside of Diagon Alley when you're in it. If you are a Potter fan, Michelle, I tell people the same thing. If they're going to both parks and they're huge Harry Potter fans, I tell them to go to Diagon Alley first, walk in those steps of Harry Potter, get on the Hogwarts Express, and go to Hogsmeade. Like that is the journey, and I don't think, in my opinion, you don't really get that journey anywhere else in any other theme park. And that's definitely special for sure. And I am a Harry Potter fan for sure. I mean, I'm a proud Gryffindor.
Like it.
No, I'm a proud Gryffindor. I'm a proud Gryffindor,
But she's more of a New Yorker.
But yeah,
she's a bigger fan of the Egyptians, I think it is.
Yeah, I think it's down to personal preference. If I and also again, you have one way in and one way out of Diagon Alley. It does get pretty crowded. It does get pretty hot. Whereas in New York, it does get crowded and hot, but I feel like you can spread out a lot more in New York than you can in Diagon Alley.
But Diagon Alley is that's what makes it authentic, because that's what Diagon Alley wouldn't be boiling, to be fair. It'd be freezing and raining because it's in London, but it's authentic because it's like when people complain the doors in the stores at Hogsmeade were like, they're too narrow or stuff, and it's like that's how it would be. Like, what do you want?
No, totally. And I think, the food is amazing. I mean, again, I think if you had a spot for number 1 and then a number 1.5, that would play more on my list, because I hate calling, Diagon Alley number 2. It doesn't feel right because of how much effort and how amazing it is. But again, it's just the personal experiences that I've had in New York and how the connection I have with that area. As long as I have, just played a more special place in my heart. But it's not to knock Diagon Alley in any way. It's incredible.
I can't believe you've convinced Tracy to knock it down to number 4.
But also, another point for my argument is it's not Hogsmeade, which is the original and the best.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's not a patch on Hogsmeade, I don't think.
Right.
Apparently, I'm going to be having some serious words after this.
Your opinion's your opinion. It's just wrong. So to reiterate our rankings, at number 8 we had Kidzone, at number 7 at San Francisco, at number 6 was World Expo, number 5 Production Central, number 4 Springfield, at number 3 Hollywood, at number 2 New York, and at number 1 maybe Diagon Alley. It's good to hear everybody's opinions, and look, everyone's put compelling arguments for reasons why they have where they are, but I like the fact that everyone stuck by, and it's not just down to the theme park itself. Like I've said before, emotions, nostalgia, experiences play a huge part in any visit to a theme park, especially Universal Orlando, especially for us. So that is going to wrap up this show, but as we did for ranking the lands of Islands of Adventure, I want to get the listeners involved. So if you want to get involved, all you've got to do is send us your rankings of the 8 lands of Universal Studios Florida, like we just have, and email them to us, number 1 to number 8, and that email is podcast@uuopodcast.com, and you have until Sunday, April 24th to send them in to us. And that is going to wrap up 11 years of the Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast, believe it or not.
Wow.
Congratulations.
That's crazy. And we're going to end with a special Universal Is this week, because Ali, as our guest, is going to provide this one. But of course, like we do every week, we're going to invite our listeners to get involved. So all you've got to do is let us know what you think Universal is in 3 words or less, and send them to us at podcast@uuopodcast.com, or send them via social media. But for now, Ali, it's over to you.
Universal is unique, fun, family.
Catch you next week, everyone.
That was another episode of the Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast, the best and only podcast about Universal Orlando on the island. Check us out on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Pinterest. Just search UUO Podcast. For all the podcasts, news, and articles, check out our blog at uuopodcast.com. Send us your questions, comments, and listener debate submissions to podcast@uuopodcast.com. Join the Producers Club by emailing us at uuopproducers@gmail.com. Listen and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Check out our friends, the Theme Park Duo, for all your other theme park news, and use our awesome sponsors, Mouse and Muggle Travel Company, to book your next trip. So until next time, this is Amity 6. Call off the Marines. We're coming home.